Welcome to the PSR YouTube channel. I love YouTube. YouTube's awesome. It's awesome. You should become a YouTube creator. Totally. This video will get monetized. Yes.
Oh yeah, we're having lots of family fun now. Oh yeah, none of these are real guns now. Oh yeah. Also got a Patreon, the link is in description. Got some merch too, yeah, you know you wanna get some.
Thank you for being patient. I think we've stroked the algorithm enough for today. The video starts in 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of PSR. It is a joy to have you with us on this fine day. What are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about the Recce IAR from Red Right Hand LLC, and this is a badass weapon system. But first, you know who I've got to thank? Quick break, guys, because I have a huge announcement, something very exciting. As you may know, my previous sponsor is no longer sponsoring the channel, and we've got a new sponsor, baby. And who is that? Well, that is AVES Engineering, also known as AVES Rails. It's AVES, not AVES. So what does AVES make? Well, they make all sorts of rails for your favorite DIY designs. You've probably seen them on this channel before. And not only that, but they work directly with developers to bring products for many of those designs. Did I also mention they have a ton of Mac 11 components? They also offer a variety of SLS made accessories like grips, which are awesome. And I would absolutely 100% never, ever use the code PSR for 10% off your order at AVES. I am super stoked to have AVES on board for this next chapter. Thanks for watching, and back to the video. So what exactly is the Recce IAR? Well, this is Red Right Hand's, essentially their take on the M27 IAR. If you're not familiar with the M27 IAR, we'll do a little bit of a history lesson here, and I'll try to be somewhat brief and cover it. And also, I am not a huge expert on this, so if I get something wrong, please don't get too mad at me in the comments. But if I do say something wrong, correct me as well. So in the mid-2000s, during our wars overseas, the M249 machine gun was looking to be replaced by something a little bit lighter, something that could serve more roles. And so the Marines, they decided they wanted to replace it with a weapon that could do a little bit more, be a little bit more accurate, and be able to fill a little bit more roles. So they put out a contract for a bunch of different companies to submit some weapons to fill that role. And what ended up happening was HK, the Germans, came out with this piston-driven, basically a HK-416 with a heavy barrel and some light exterior modifications, and they won the contract for the Marines. So that became the M27 IAR. Short stroke gas piston operated rifle, and it is very similar to the M16. However, it is not direct impingement. Like I said, it's a piston gun, and it's got a heavier barrel, like I said, and it runs cooler. Had a lot of advantages, mainly in weight, and the ability to just carry it around was so much easier than the M249. Although reports were that some Marines were a little bit reluctant to adopt this in replacement of the M249 SAW, because the M249 SAW had a clear advantage in suppressive fire, given that it was belt fed and you could just run the piss out of it. However, it's much heavier, harder to lug around, much more of a burden for someone who was the designated machine gunner. So HK won the contract, and eventually the M27 IAR was equipped to a lot of the Marines. While it didn't entirely replace the M249, it kind of filled its own role and showed the versatility of having a gun like this in combat. And so they adopted a bunch of these rifles as a supplement to the M16, or a replacement even to the M16, because they were that good. Now, some of the advantages of having a piston gun are that it's a little bit more reliable and it has the ability to run suppressed a lot cleaner. The M27 IAR did prove to be very accurate as well. And with the heavier barrel, it maintained its accuracy even with a lot of fire, which you couldn't say for the M16. So what does all of this have to do with what I have in my hands? Well, this right here is Red Right Hand's, essentially their take on the M27 IAR. Before we get into this, I do want to just mention that Red Right Hand didn't pay me or anything. They sent me some ammo out, which I'm very grateful for, but they didn't pay me to do this review. They just sent me this, and I have to send the upper back, unfortunately. The upper right here on this rifle is the piston-driven one. It is the Recce IAR V2, and then this upper right here is the Recce IAR V1. This is Red Right Hand's, essentially their take on a DI, or direct impingement version of the M27 IAR. Now, if you've watched the other video I did on the Red Right Hand Recce LMG, you'll notice there are some similarities here. The barrel on the Recce LMG is much longer. This here has got a shorter barrel, and it's a 16-inch H-bar barrel. Both uppers have a 1-in-7 twist. This one, since it's DI, has the rifle speed adjustable gas block right on the front. We've got a Midwest Industries quad rail on here. I believe it's a 10-inch quad rail. It's just nice, guys. The quad rail chads out there, I know you're out there just sitting there saying, wow, the quad rail. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh. We've got Red Right Hand's own bolt carrier group here. We've got a Geisley charging handle on the back. This is an ambi charging handle, which is a really nice one. On top, we've got an SLX MD25 optic from Primary Arms. So that is the DI upper. Let's get back to the V2. So the V2 is really, in my opinion, kind of the special one. It might be because I haven't shot one of these piston uppers yet until now, but I believe this one is my favorite upper because it's just got a different feel to the direct impingement. What makes it different, obviously, is the short stroke gas piston. Now, the gas piston system is by Superlative Arms. It's got their special bolt carrier group. It has got an adjustable gas piston, which is really sweet. Works great for doing suppressed stuff, although I wasn't able to suppress this rifle. Hopefully soon we can do a little bit of testing on that. On this upper, we have an ACSS Cyclops 1X Micro Prism by Primary Arms. And for other accessories, we've got an FDE bipod. The bipod, I think, is kind of important for this gun because it is sort of a mixed roll, and having a bipod is pretty important. The handguard on both uppers is the same. This is the Midwest Industries quad rail handguard. We got a little broom handle grip here. As far as the gas piston goes, I will show you the difference between both bolt carrier groups. They look a little bit different. If you watch my Recce LMG video, you'll know that there's some kind of cool, unique trick stuff happening in this handguard. There are aluminum heat sinks all around the barrel that are 6061 aluminum, and they help dissipate the heat. And that is a really cool part of this design that's unique to Red Right Hand that is not on the HK, which I think is pretty cool. The DI version of the upper is pretty neat because it has the extra benefit of having copper nickel alloy coils that go along the gas tube, which also help dissipate heat and keep it even throughout the system. So what were these things like to shoot? Well, I put 800 rounds, about 400 rounds each, through each upper. I wish I had a little bit more ammo, but I do want to thank Red Right Hand for sending me 800 rounds of 5.56 to put through these things. They didn't have to do that, and that was very nice of them. The goal was to really heat them up and see how they performed, see how the accuracy was. And man, I got these things so hot. Like, I was just mag dumping, mag after mag after mag, trying to get them pretty hot. I felt like the DI got hotter. I went to adjust that rifle speed gas block a few times, and boy, even through my gloves, I couldn't touch that barrel. I mean, you can see the heat emanating off of it. It was a very, very hot day with no wind. We really did put these through the test of the heat. At least from hitting the steel perspective, I mean, these things were just ringing steel shot after shot. The piston version I set up with the bipod, doing very typical gun bro things, and shot it out of the back of my 4Runner, and that was a lot of fun. I put some Firebird targets downrange and just let her out, bud. I also did a little test to see if the recoil was much different between both platforms. I did notice that the piston is slightly a little bit more felt recoil, just a tad though. Ooh, yeah. The DI has the advantage of the tunability of that rifle speed gas block. This is also tunable, but I didn't do anything with this. I just left it the way it is. This is more for if you're gonna, put a suppressor or change your buffer weight or whatever. I just kept it the same, and the recoil was very manageable. Now, the fit and finish and just quality of these uppers are always so on point, and they're hand built. I believe Red Right Hand does an absolute awesome job. As far as the use of a piston gun, maybe it feels a little bit more front heavy slightly than your average DI gun, but to be honest, they felt about the same. Really, they felt pretty close to each other in terms of weight. I didn't have any issues just holding it up and using it without the bipod or anything and just standing with it. The H-bar barrel did a great job, even though it got super hot. After I put a ton of rounds through these, I went out actually with the piston version and went out to 300 yards and did some pseudo accuracy tests, and it did great. This upper right here, the V2, is my favorite just because it's different and it's got all the characteristics of the HK 416/M27 IAR, but it's an American-made, a small batch, craft-made upper. I think it's awesome having a piston gun in your arsenal, something that runs different and you can kind of equip it to serve that purpose of being kind of jack of all trades gun. I think it's a really, really trick bit of kit. I want one eventually. Badly. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is cool? Would you get one? Do you have a piston gun? I know that the Superlative Arms gas piston kit is something you can put into a build that you make on your own, but this right here is just super quality the way it's put together, and the materials I think are awesome. And that heat mitigation system is just really what sets this apart, I think. So that's really all I gotta say about these uppers. They did awesome, I love them. I want one. Honestly, I'm having a hard time finding really anything negative to say about them. They performed flawlessly. I had no malfunctions. I haven't cleaned them at all either. Put a little bit of lube on them and just ran the piss out of them. And that's what you want. So if you like this video, consider giving it a like or maybe even subscribe. But if you're not feeling generous, that's totally fine too. I have a Patreon, guys, if you want to subscribe to that. We do early access to videos and also have some of my music on there. If you're interested in that, give me a follow. All right, guys, love you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Kind of, how are you doing on battery? Okay.